In the modern music industry, the general public believes that electronic music is just made by someone sitting in a coffee shop clicking a mouse on a laptop. They think it's just software. But true earth-shattering sound, the kind of bass that physically vibrates your ribcage and the kind of resonance that makes a crowd of 100,000 people weep, doesn't come from a microchip. It comes from physics. It comes from raw, high-voltage electricity forced through analog oscillators, manipulated by resistors, and shaped by physical copper wiring. I spend my life bending raw electricity into art. It takes thousands of hours of agonizing microscopic soldering to build a machine that can synthesize a perfect sound wave. I know how to control voltage. I know how to route a signal to ensure absolute harmony. I just never realized that while I was obsessively soldering the connections in my studio, the most important connection in my life was completely short-circuiting. My name is Sebastian. I'm 36 years old and I am a master audio engineer and custom hardware designer. 6 years ago, I married Valerie. Valerie was a highly ambitious artists and repertoire executive and talent manager in the electronic music scene. She was glamorous, endlessly charismatic, and addicted to the high-stakes, adrenaline-fueled world of VIP festival lounges, backstage passes, and platinum records. I was the introverted nerd who preferred the absolute dead silence of my soundproofed engineering bunker. But we were a team. She managed the artists, and I built the equipment that made them sound like gods. For 4 grueling years, I spent every single weekend, every holiday, and every ounce of my personal savings building my absolute masterpiece. I called it the Leviathan. It wasn't just a synthesizer. It was a revolutionary, fully polyphonic analog-digital hybrid workstation. I had invented a proprietary method of using AI to perfectly stabilize analog voltage. The sound it produced was so massive, so incredibly warm and powerful that 2 major music tech corporations had already approached me with preliminary buyout offers hovering around $50 million for the patents alone. I promised Valerie this machine was our golden ticket. I told her that when I finalized the firmware, we would sell the patents, launch our own boutique audio firm, and she would be the most powerful executive in the industry. We would be set for life. But Valerie didn't want to build a company with me. She looked at my calloused hands, the endless nights I spent breathing in soldering fumes, and she decided she wanted the $50 million without having to share the stage with the mechanic. The decay of our marriage accelerated the moment Valerie signed a massive new client to our management roster, a guy named Jackson. His stage name was DJ Aether. Jackson was 32 years old and the absolute poster boy for everything wrong with the modern music industry. He was a multi-millionaire superstar DJ who played the biggest festivals on earth, but in the engineering community, he was a known fraud. He didn't know how to play a single instrument. He paid ghost producers thousands of dollars to write his tracks for him in secret, and his entire live show consisted of him standing behind a disconnected mixer, pressing play on a pre-recorded USB drive, and waving his hands in the air like a messiah. He drove a customized neon Lamborghini and treated brilliant audio engineers like disposable roadies. Suddenly, Valerie was spending all her time at Jackson's sprawling Hollywood Hills mansion, claiming she was restructuring his global tour strategy. The red flags didn't just quietly appear, they blasted through my monitors like audio feedback. First, the profound, unapologetic disrespect. Valerie started actively belittling my life's work. "Sebastian, you need to step out of the basement," she scoffed one evening, tossing her $4,000 designer handbag onto my mixing console. "Jackson plays to 100,000 people a night. He shapes the culture. You're just a guy soldering wires together. You lack visionary scale. Nobody cares about your circuitry, they care about the spectacle." Second, the intense, unnatural secrecy. Valerie changed her passcode on her phone. She started taking crisis PR calls in her car, sitting in the driveway with the engine running for 40 minutes before coming inside the house. Third, and by far the most terrifying, was her sudden, highly specific interest in my hardware. Valerie, a woman who absolutely loathed the smell of my studio, suddenly started asking me highly technical questions. Sebastian, is the Leviathan synthesizer portable? Can it be plugged directly into a massive festival PA system? Are the patents officially filed in your name yet? When an A&R manager suddenly cares about the legal status of an unpatented, multi-million-dollar hardware prototype, you don't answer the question, you check the microphones. When you build a multi-million-dollar acoustic recording setup, you don't use standard security cameras. I have ultra-sensitive, high-fidelity studio microphones rigged in the ceiling of the live room, permanently routed to a rolling 48-hour digital hard drive to capture spontaneous acoustic reflections. One Saturday afternoon, while I was supposedly out sourcing specialized vacuum tubes across town, my phone notified me that the studio door code had been bypassed. I pulled my car over, opened my secure server app, and tapped into the live audio feed. It was Valerie and Jackson. They weren't just hooking up on my leather studio couch, though the crystal clear audio of that alone was enough to make me physically sick. They were actively examining the Leviathan synthesizer and plotting a $50 million corporate heist. Jackson's arrogant voice echoed through my headphones. "This is the machine? It's heavy. Are you sure the tech corporation will buy the patent for $50 million if I claim I invented it?" Valerie laughed, a cold, cruel sound that made my blood run cold. "Yes, baby. The corporate buyers are going to be in the VIP tent at the Electric Horizon Festival next weekend. Here is the plan. When Sebastian leaves for his tech conference in Seattle, we load the synthesizer into my SUV. You plug it in on the main stage and use it for the final bass drop of your headline set. It will blow their minds. We take the $50 million buyout, and I serve Sebastian with divorce papers the next morning. He's just a naive nerd who solders wires. They don't understand the level of absolute, unmitigated acoustic destruction a master audio engineer is capable of routing." If you want to destroy a fake musician, you don't smash his equipment. You hand him the most powerful instrument in the world, you plug it into a stadium speaker system, and you let him hit the play button. I didn't confront her. If I yelled and locked the studio, Jackson's army of entertainment lawyers would bury me in injunctions, claim they had a verbal contract to the design, and tie me up in court for a decade until I went bankrupt. I needed them to steal the synthesizer. I needed Jackson to proudly plug it into a 1 million watt stadium PA system on a live global broadcast. So, I went to work on the circuitry. I took the true uncompiled firmware code of the Leviathan, encrypted it with a 256-bit key, and moved it to an air-gapped hard drive that I locked in a bank vault. Then I opened the physical chassis of the synthesizer. The machine was designed to output a massive clean analog signal, but I intercepted the master output bus. I soldered a hidden solid-state ROM chip directly into the signal path, bypassing all the external volume knobs and the DJ mixer completely. I programmed a physical logic bomb. I knew Jackson's stage routine perfectly. Right before his massive, crowd-pleasing bass drop, he always grabbed the master filter slider and aggressively shoved it to maximum capacity to build tension. I coded the ROM chip to read the resistance value of that exact slider. The machine would function flawlessly during soundcheck and rehearsal, but the absolute second that slider hit 100% capacity, the payload would execute. It wouldn't just crash the machine, it would forcibly hijack the stadium's soundboard. The hidden chip would inject a preloaded, unmutable audio file directly into the main PA system at maximum decibels. And just for a little visual flair, I wired a secondary relay to intentionally overload a massive non-lethal capacitor, guaranteeing it would blow a highly dramatic cloud of thick black smoke out of the machine. I screwed the chassis shut. I polished the metal. I kissed Valerie goodbye on Thursday morning, told her I was going to Seattle, and watched her smile like she had just won the lottery. I let them steal the bomb. Now, they just had to plug it in. I didn't go to Seattle. I drove straight to the offices of the most aggressive intellectual property litigator in the music industry. I sat down at his mahogany conference table. I handed him my original, time-stamped blueprints. I handed him the official patent documentation for the Leviathan synthesizer, which I had secretly expedited and secured exclusively in my own name a month prior. And finally, I handed him the crystal-clear audio files of Valerie and Jackson explicitly conspiring to commit corporate fraud and IP theft. My wife and her accomplice are going to debut this stolen, patented hardware on the main stage of the Electric Horizon Festival this Saturday night, I told my lawyer calmly. My lawyer reviewed the documents, listened to the audio, and slowly smiled like a shark smelling blood in the water. Sebastian, utilizing stolen, patented engineering hardware to solicit a $50 million buyout from a corporate entity is massive, willful federal fraud. If he plays this instrument on a live broadcast, we won't just sue him, we will own his entire touring conglomerate, his masters, and his publishing rights. Draft the paperwork, but do not file the injunction yet. Do not stop the show. Let him plug it in. I want him to put his face on it in front of 100,000 people. On Wednesday afternoon, my phone notified me that my studio door had been breached. Through the security cameras, I watched Jackson and his roadies illegally load my $1 million masterpiece into the back of a rented moving truck. Valerie left a white envelope containing divorce papers on my mixing console and walked out without looking back. They were laughing. They thought they had just executed the perfect heist, but they had no idea they had just loaded a ticking acoustic bomb onto their own stage. Saturday night, live from the main stage of the biggest EDM festival in the world. Over 200,000 screaming fans were packed into the arena, and 3 million people were watching the live stream on YouTube. I sat in my dark hotel room watching the high-definition stream. Jackson was hyping up the crowd, jumping up and down in the DJ booth, absolutely dripping with unearned confidence. The camera panned to the VIP skybox, and I saw Valerie standing there with the tech executives, holding a glass of champagne, looking incredibly proud, believing she had just secured $50 million. "Electric Horizon!" Jackson screamed into his microphone. "I built something special for you tonight. Prepare to witness the future of sound." The crowd went absolutely wild. Pyrotechnics exploded. Jackson dramatically pulled a velvet cloth off my masterpiece, the Leviathan. The heavy studio lights focused entirely on him. He stepped up to the machine. The dramatic rising tension of the music began to build. The drums sped up. Jackson reached down and grabbed the master filter slider. I looked at the screen. I knew the circuitry. He violently shoved the slider all the way to maximum capacity. In a fraction of a millisecond, my logic bomb bypassed the stadium mixer. Instead of a massive earth-shattering bass drop, the stadium went dead silent for a split second. Then, the hidden ROM chip executed. Blasting at 120 decibels through 1,000,000 watts of stadium speakers, echoing across the entire festival grounds, was the crystal-clear, high-definition audio recording from my studio. Valerie's voice boomed like thunder across the night sky. "We take the $50 million buyout. He's just a naive nerd, Jackson. The fans are so stupid they'll eat this up." Jackson's voice echoed back, completely undeniable. "You're a genius, V. The nerd is going to fund our entire empire." The 200,000 fans stopped dancing. The stadium went dead. pin drop silent. The YouTube livestream chat completely broke, scrolling so fast it was a blur. In the DJ booth, Jackson's face turned the color of wet concrete. He frantically mashed the buttons on his CDJs, desperately trying to cut the audio feed, but my chip was wired directly into the main output. "Cut the sound!" Jackson screamed at his sound engineers, completely unhinged, caught on the live broadcast. Before he could pull the power cord, the secondary relay triggered. The massive internal capacitor intentionally overloaded. A loud pop echoed from the synthesizer, and a massive thick cloud of dramatic black smoke violently spewed out of the machine, completely enveloping Jackson in a cloud of soot. In the VIP box, Valerie dropped her champagne glass. It shattered. The tech executive stared at her in pure, unadulterated horror. The crowd of 200,000 fans didn't cheer. They started booing. A deafening, angry roar of boos echoed through the stadium as they realized their hero was a fraud who had just insulted them on tape. I took a slow sip of my coffee, smiled at the frozen live stream, and texted my lawyer, "Drop the beat." You cannot recover from a 120 decibel confession in front of the entire music industry. The fallout was an absolute, unmitigated, scorched earth disaster. The video of the synthesizer smoking and broadcasting the affair went viral globally within 10 minutes. Jackson became the biggest laughingstock in the history of electronic music. The festival organizers cut his microphone, escorted him off the stage with security to protect him from the angry crowd, and instantly canceled the rest of his tour. Because Jackson had utilized stolen patented technology and attempted to defraud a massive tech corporation out of $50 million, the executives in the VIP tent launched an immediate, devastating legal strike. His record label dropped him in less than 48 hours. He was hit with massive federal lawsuits from his own sponsors, completely ruining him financially. Valerie's life was vaporized. Jackson, realizing he was facing federal indictments and total bankruptcy, immediately blamed her. He told investigators that she was a rogue manager who had supplied him with stolen hardware without his knowledge. He threw her to the wolves to save himself. She called me from a hotel room, sobbing so hard she was hyperventilating. Sebastian, please, the executives are suing me. Jackson dumped me. The machine exploded and played the audio. You have to fix this. Please, I have nothing." "You have the spotlight, Valerie," I said calmly. "You always wanted the spectacle. Well, 200,000 people just heard your best track. By the way, check your email. You've been served with a federal IP lawsuit. Enjoy the silence." I hung up and blocked her number. During our divorce settlement, she had absolutely zero leverage. Because she was facing criminal charges for corporate espionage against me, the judge awarded me 100% of the marital assets and the studio. She walked away with millions in legal debt and a permanently ruined reputation in the music industry.
It's been almost 3 years since that festival broadcast. After the dust finally settled and the lawsuits were paid out, I sold the real, fully functioning, updated patent for the Leviathan. I didn't sell it to a flashy DJ. I sold it to a legendary, highly respected music technology corporation, a company that actually understands the engineering, respects the physics, and treats its creators like true partners. I made enough money from that single sale to buy a massive new commercial manufacturing facility, hire a full team of engineers, and my business has never been better. Last I heard, Valerie avoided prison by taking a plea deal, but she is completely blacklisted from the entertainment industry globally. She is currently working as a customer service rep for a cheap headphone company, listening to people complain all day, knowing she threw away her ticket to the top. Jackson is completely bankrupt, buried in endless litigation and permanently banned from every major music festival in the world. If there is a lesson to be learned here, it's a simple one. Never disrespect the architect of your reality. If your partner thinks they can steal your hard work, push you into the shadows, and take the main stage for themselves, don't try to pull them off. Don't fight them for the cables. Let them step into the booth. Hand them the machine. Let them feel like they've won. And right when they think they're about to drop the beat of a lifetime, just flip the switch and let the whole world hear exactly who they really are. Thanks for listening to my story. If you enjoyed this one, drop a like, hit subscribe, and let me know in the comments, what's the worst live performance disaster you've ever witnessed? Stay sharp, trust the physics, and always check your audio routing.